Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to or watching the Powercast. And today we're going to be recapping the return of Power Book 2 Ghost, and it's season 4, the last season. And this is episode 1, and the title of the episode is I Don't Die Easy. And I am here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. Richard, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Sup indeed. And I am also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing, Dana?
I just want to say that this is a big, rich town, and I come from the poorest parts. And, you know, illegal or legal, I have to make it because this is where I come from. This is the town that's big and it's rich. And I'm excited to be around. Yay.
Wow, dropping bars. Okay. Yeah, and you literally do come from the big rich town. So, you know, that was a great choice of song there. And yeah, I'm sure we can all agree as well that hearing that theme music, like it just hits different. Like when the show comes back, like and you hear big rich town, it's like, yeah, this is it. Like this is how it's supposed to be right here. So yeah, that was definitely great. So we are back, of course, for Powercast. We're going to be back for the next, I believe, 5 weeks because I think they're splitting it into five, like five now, five later. So for the next 5 weeks and maybe even more, we're going to be talking about Power Book 2 Ghost again. And this is the final season, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of crazy things to discuss. And I mean, just judging by this episode, yeah, there's going to be a whole lot that we need to unpack. So yeah, before we get to our takeaways for this premiere episode, I just want to give a big shout outs to the people, the community, and of course, we do appreciate if you guys, leave your comments, let us know what you thought about, this episode of Power in the comment section. And also, while you're there, hit the like button because that does help us, to keep going and keep doing what we're doing. And also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon also, all of that is free, by the way, so yeah, please do hit that like button. That's important. But yeah, we'll jump right into the takeaway segment first. And since I am the host, I'll take on the task of going first. And yeah, all spotlights on me. I'm not good with these nerves and stuff. So, but for this, it's power. I'm gonna suck it up and I'm gonna go first. So let's do it. So first of all, one thing I really liked about this episode was the whole Monet thing, right? So we know that she's currently fighting for her life. Um, and I like that they did choose to bring back Mecca and Lorenzo to kind of like, have that battle of her consciousness, where she's kind of talking through her previous exes and stuff like, and she has to kind of negotiate her life because Lorenzo, he tells her you're dying basically. So it's like she has to kind of argue her cause of why she should still live, but they're also telling her of all the misdeeds she's done and why she kind of deserves to die and set the family free, set the children free essentially. um so I liked that because a lot of what they said was true. They were hitting her with some truths, although they aren't good men themselves, but they they definitely hit her with some of the truth that she needed to hear. And then, of course, these segments kind of ended off with her talking to Zeke as well. So she had a conversation with Zeke, who, and he basically said something that really hit home with her, and it was like, you were depending on me as your out, your way out, basically, because he's a ball player. And this is a common thing. Like this actually does happen in real life, where there's a lot of like mothers or parents who kind of want to get ahead based on their child's achievements, especially if they're ball players or sports guys. So yeah, I'm glad they kind of shined a light on that a little bit. But yeah, I kind of liked those segments, with Monet having to kind of like, battle with her own consciousness. But it seems like she didn't really learn nothing, because like at the end, when she woke up, instantly she was like, who did this? Like, find out who did it. Like, just giving her children orders, you know, like nothing changed basically. So yeah, I don't think she's going to learn anything, but I do like that there was some of that inside of her, like her having some form of like conversation with her own consciousness and stuff like that. So I think that was cool. And it also makes me think, like, what other ghosts might we get this season? Like, what other, are we going to see the return of Kanan's ghost talking to Tariq or something? And are we going to get any other surprise ghosts, this season? So yeah, it just makes me think. But yeah, that was great. And second takeaway, I just like how this episode kind of had a lot of callbacks, I think, to previous things that happened in the power shows. Even like the original Power. So one of those things was like when Tariq and Brayden was going to go after Noma's daughter, and like she puts the headphones on and she misses the shootout. So that's something that actually happened to Tariq in the original Power, where I think some hitmen came for his father, and Tariq was listening to his headphones and he missed like the whole thing basically. So like that seemed like a little callback. And then also like you had a lot of segments with Tariq and Brayden that felt like Ghost and Tommy a little bit. And like there was one part where they went back to Stansfield and like they stashed some money somewhere, and they retrieved the money. Like that felt like something Ghost would do. And then of course like you had the whole segments with Junior, Angel. And I like that when Tariq killed him, he actually mentioned like your auntie ruined my life, basically. Like I felt that was very well done, because it made it very personal, like the kill and everything. Even though I could argue that it's a bit disappointing that the character died like that, because like I expected more from the character. Like I thought the character was gonna have like some significance in the future, but still, just the way, what the conversation they had and what Tariq said to him, I guess that was cool. The fact that he touched on Angela and the way that she kind of ruined his life. Uh, and was it? Oh yeah, and then like the new character, Detective Carter, as well. He seems to have like some sort of connection, or he seemed to know Ghost, or Tariq's father or something of that nature. So it all kind of came full circle at the end with Paz like going to him when Junior was killed. So I feel like this is kind of telling us something of where Tariq's past is gonna come back and haunt him, like, or catch up to him in some way, throughout this season. And Detective Carter seems to be linked to his past. So yeah, I just like all the callbacks and how it's set up what's going to happen for the season. So yeah, that was my second takeaway. Um, so third takeaway is, and there's a lot to talk about. It's hard to like have just three, but we're gonna talk about other things later on, so it's all good. But I'm gonna talk about Kane here. And Kane, he has he has a real big grudge against Tariq still. And this grudge has kind of been going on since the first season, really, but it's only intensified as the show went on, and now it seems like it's at an all-time high. And we saw in this episode that he also kind of has a soft spot for Effie. These two kind of got close together and stuff, but I don't feel like he trusts her all the way. And he is right for not trusting her, because you see in this episode when they're at Stansfield, Effie actually chooses to help Tariq and Brayden get away by giving them the heads up, and stuff. So he's right to not fully trust her, because there was the scene where they were at the house and he just got the bullet out of his arm, and like they had a kiss, like they had an intimate moment or whatever, and Kane was instantly like, you trying to distract me from the goal or something. Like he separated from her and he was like, you're trying to distract me. So I think he has one eye open with Effie, but he's also letting her think that he likes her, and like he's head over heels and stuff. So I'm interested to see where that goes, because if I give an early prediction, I could see maybe him taking out Effie or something. Like maybe there's some betrayal there later on or something. I don't know. It is the final season, so I mean anything can happen at this point. But yeah, that's an interesting relationship to watch right there. And there's also the whole Kane and Drew dynamic as well. Drew, of course, he's set on basically keeping his mother out of the know that him and Diana had something to do with her getting shot. So he doesn't want her to find that, and he's terrified that Tariq is gonna like spill the tea, basically. Um, so that's kind of one carrot that Tariq has to dangle over the family, I guess, or over Drew and Diana. The fact that he knows and that he can tell Monet. So that seems like he's going to use that to kind of get out of situations. But there was also the moment where like Drew was kind of telling his sister like, you have to smother her with a pillow, try and basically try to kill Monet before she could find out the truth and everything. So I feel like there could also be a betrayal between Kane and Drew, where I feel like there was already like a rivalry between them for who's going to become the head of the family, but I feel like that could really intensify in this season too. And I kind of feel like Drew's on his last legs. Like I could totally see him dying this season, possibly. He seemed a bit deranged and a bit like unhinged in this episode. It seems like they're kind of preparing him to kind of like, to be written off or killed or something. So I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. I do also think, well, I'll save that because that's not part of my takeaway. So I'll save that take for later. But yeah, those are my three takeaways. I'm very interested to know what you guys thought of this show. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna choose Dana to go next. So Dana, when you're ready, hit us with your takeaways.
I'm gonna hit you with the next shot and I'm gonna fire away. Um, so for me overall, this was a wonderful premiere where we didn't waste any time, which is something I really, really love. This wasn't like a year later or a week later and Monet's at the hospital and everything's all great and dandy. No, this was something that was immediate and it even felt like it was written immediately. So I really did love and appreciate this. There were a lot of different levels of emotions that it brought to me. First was, we have that suspense, we have the thriller, we have the drama. There was a lot of comedic moments that I don't think that they probably intended to be comedic, but I mean that in the best way. Like this was perfectly written. Um, for me, Drew and Kanan just being screwed up the entire episode added to the hilarity. Kane is shot. Drew, when he got hit by that car, he's all kinds of messed up. And he had that very determined, power crazed look throughout the entire episode. Was like, we gotta kill Monet. We gotta kill Tariq. And, it just carried throughout this entire episode, even when the part where he got the phone call from Monet saying, stand down. You could see this intensity and anger. And I kind of liked at the very end that they all saw Tariq, but Tariq used his wits. And I'll talk about that to basically outsmart everyone. But what I really liked from this is that we got a sense that Tariq truly has, aside from Brayden, but even if you looked at it with Brayden isn't connected to Tariq's family in terms of he's in someone that was embedded with the St. Patrick's. He's someone that he met in college. He's completely separated from the Tariq, from the St. Patrick's family that way. And you see that he has this huge ally, which is this one kid. And this was also Brayden's story as well. We saw with this episode, one of the big standouts was Brayden taking his side. And we know that we've seen it before. Remember, Brayden was on the stand and we didn't know if he was going to go against him, what was going to happen. The family was like, oh, we're in a disarray, but he had money, so we knew that he would be fine. But this was really him separating himself from his family that we saw for this year. And basically his family throwing him out because he decided to go mess with the Jungle Bunnies, which, I don't know, I'm not supposed to laugh. It was hilarious. But I really appreciated that they gave Brayden such a great storyline. And yes, you can also say it's like Tommy as well. And Tommy is a fully fleshed out character even before he got his own series, and they made that with Brayden. But Brayden completely walking away from any connection, although I do feel that Becca might still be for him and be okay with him. But he can't return home. And we saw that in him, essentially being kicked out of the family and him telling Tariq. Tariq didn't know at that time just how much he meant to him or how much he wanted to say, look, you were literally my only family right now because 2 seconds ago, I got kicked out of everything because I chose you. So I really liked how they made that they made it a choice. This wasn't something that he was forced into. And his actions have never been something that was forced into. And Tariq made it known very clear in this episode and in previous episodes that this was not something that was that he dragged him into. He kept saying, I never meant for this to happen. Go back home, go to your family. But this one, it was kind of like a complete acceptance of the path that everyone chose. And they chose to be with each other. So I really did love that. And that was a huge standout for me. Another standout, which we'll get to later, is Detective Carter. Even though we just seen him as making his debut, it was the most dramatical thing that I've ever seen. And it was hilarious. I mean, you got him, and all that was missing was the slow motion and like prayer. Remember back in Face Off, where it was like that operatic, and they're like in the church and you could see the cape waving. And it was like, and he's sitting there. You have Michael Ealy literally lighting the candle inside of this, looked like a Roman Catholic church. This was not Baptist. This was definitely something of Catholicism. And it was like him and doing like this, forgive me, Father. And he sounded like Bane for some reason. We was all like dark and mysterious. My wife has died. I'm going to avenge her. And then you see, it was paused. It was like, please come and save us. My son is shot. He's killed. And it was just so over dramatic. And it was like, oh, it was Tariq St. Patrick. And he's like, St. Patrick, I know that name. I will avenge everyone. It was so over the top. To me, it felt like a final boss character that you didn't expect was going to be a boss at all, because it's like, where did you come from? So for me, it felt like Tariq was fighting two battles. One, we have his own separate, which is the Monet situationship and Noma. And then with this Detective Carter, it seems like he has to fight his father's battle as well, because clearly he knows the St. Patrick's, and Tariq would have been too young to have interacted with him, to have any kind of relationship with him. We was like, yeah, that's Detective Carter from like my childhood. We never was introduced to this person at all from my recollection. So to me, it really felt like, the struggle with, do I become my father or do I become myself? And with this choosing of Detective Carter, the final boss, this is like really severing the ties of him becoming his own person. Even if that means he has to add Ghost within him. But I don't think Ghost never died in that sense. And remember, the tagline was Ghost never died. I truly believe that he lives on in Tariq. Even if Tariq is like, look, I quit. I'm going to go be a marine biologist and live in Antarctica and study penguins until I drop dead. There is always going to be a ghost within him. That hustler mentality and strategic thinking. If you look at Ghost was never the physical brute force strength. He wasn't the sociopath. That was always Kanan. So, and he had these different people that he could use and strategize with, but he was always the thinker. And one of the things that we saw with this episode was him thinking throughout the whole thing. He can't beat you up, but he can probably out-thank you. And so that is what I really loved and appreciated. And you could see that he put his father, still in him. So that was one of the standouts. And then kind of third, which was mentioned before, was Monet. I don't like Monet. I don't know many people who like Monet, just in general as a character. She is terrible as a mother and just as a person. But so far, I love the fact that there is zero redeeming qualities about her, where she was visited by literally the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. You had all three of them there in that room, and she was like, "Nah, I'm good. I like the way how it is." It wasn't like, "I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to do right in this world." She did that terrible excuse with Zeke, trying to apologize, but I don't even think she meant it. I think she was just throwing words and seeing if someone would forgive her, and nobody did. So she's like, well, it's not going to work. Screw it. And then she woke up. I'm going to kill Tariq. So I love the fact that she never changed. And I hope that she never changes. We need a villain who's going to be a villain with zero redeeming qualities, to the point where even her own children continuously want her dead. Drew, the entire episode was, we got to kill Ma. We got to kill Ma. Why is she not alive? Oh God, she's breathing. Smother her with a pillow. Like, that was just, I love it. Everyone's just sick of her. And her refusal to die, I think, gives her strength. She feeds off that hate. And I think that she knows deep down inside that her children hate her too. And she doesn't care. So, yay for her. And I'm okay if she doesn't die, because she's just that evil. And sometimes when you're just that evil, you just don't die. So that's my 3 for now, and we'll dive into more later.
Oh yeah, excellent takes. I do agree. Like, Detective Carter, like he was presented like a big like superhero villain or something. Like like, and the Bane voice, like, you're absolutely right about that. Like, they definitely hyped this character up a lot. And yeah, I think they're trying to let us know that he's gonna have a big impact on this season, I guess. So yeah, but excellent takeaways, and there's more to unpack, so we'll get to that after, in the next segment. But let's hear from the power weapons training expert, Richard Bailey Jr. And I hope he tells us, like, how he was able to train Tariq and Brayden to use this heavy artillery that they were using.
Yeah, I am going to get into that. But yeah, we do need to talk about that briefly. First and foremost, excellent takeaways by Dana and Gary, as always. So shout outs to you both. My thoughts on this episode, I thought this was an outstanding episode. It was intense from the very beginning to the very end. And just like Dana said, I liked that it picked up immediately after the season 3 finale. So if you did watch the show or you forgot what happened, I would encourage you to go back and watch the finale before you saw this episode. I believe Dana did that. I had to do that as well, just so I wanted to know what I was going to be talking about. But excellent episode. So I look forward to seeing where everything goes from here. My 3 takeaways from this episode. So first and foremost, before I get to Brayden and Tariq, I want to talk about Noma and Obie in this episode. Let me just start by saying it was very cold-blooded what Obie did at the beginning of the episode. And let me give a shout out to Gary Swaby, the green card department manager, because if he was there, he would have definitely gotten taken out as well with those other 2 individuals. So understand, he had to cover his tracks because they found out about the green cards. And of course, this entire episode, he's trying to help Noma through this entire process. There was a scene where he basically was trying to tell her, hey, I can help you do this. We know Mecca is out of the picture. Just let me help you. But because of the way that he approached her and he got slapped, I thought that was hilarious because obviously, yes, need to be focused on taking care of business here. So I look forward to seeing what happens with that character moving forward because I feel like it's only a matter of time before Noma finds out that he helped Tariq, and that's not good for him. You did, of course, as Dana mentioned earlier, and you, Gary, we did get a chance to meet Anya. We did see her. She has no idea what's going on, and I think that it's very interesting that Noma is not telling her anything yet because they had a scene where she basically is saying, why don't you tell me what's going on? And she refuses to tell her. So obviously, as things escalate, I would like to see where they go with that entire situation. And also interesting is that before Noma put the hit out on Tariq, the $100K to take out Brayden and Tariq, which I thought was a very good idea. It was excellent. It added more tension to the episode. But before she did that, they did approach Davis to try to get him to help, turn on Tariq. And you saw that Davis did not turn on Tariq. Earlier in this episode, Tariq called him for help. He didn't help him. And then later in the episode, after they approached him with this offer and he turned them down, then he started telling Tariq what's happening. So I would like to see what happens with this whole thing with Davis, because obviously Davis is trying to protect himself from getting disbarred. He is in the process of trying to stop all this from happening. But it makes you wonder if there will come a point in time where that character has to choose himself and he pretty much decides to turn on Tariq. So I would like to see where they're going with that. But glad to see him stand up for the brother and help him out, especially all the stuff they went through last season together. And the fact that Tariq was there when Davis's brother killed himself. That was interesting. So let's see where everything goes from here. Second takeaway of the episode. Let me talk about the Tejadas. Okay, as you both alluded to, I've already mentioned Effie and Kane spending time in this episode together. I'm just going to say it right now. I think that Effie could be Kane's downfall. Now, obviously, we will see what happens. But clearly, yes, as was already mentioned, Kane has a soft spot for her. But he is sort of still guarded. Now, we'll see where that goes. Obviously, I think the whole thing with Effie is that she did help Tariq in this episode by giving him the information. But at some point, she's going to have to choose, is it Tariq or is it Kane? And that's why I say I do like what Gary said about her potentially getting killed by Kane. I mean, something is going to happen to the character, obviously, because she is trying to get out. She's trying to get her money and get out so she can focus on school, what she wants to do in the future. But, obviously, when you're in this line of business, you either end up dead or in jail. She was in jail last season. So I don't think things are looking too good for her moving forward, but we'll see what happens. I did think it was funny that Kane went to find Trace and was beating down Trace, even though he got shot. That was a hilarious scene, though, because I'm like, damn, I know you got shot, brother, but man, you still got enough energy to try to beat this guy out and almost kill their father. And of course, he had to get calmed down by Effie. And of course, later on, we saw what happened with Brayden and his whole conversation with his father as a result of all of this. So I think it was very interesting to take that path. Let's see what happens with Kane and Effie moving forward. As for Monet, yes, she was wrestling with death this entire episode. I like the fact that they brought back Mecca and Lorenzo and that they were so buddy-buddy on how much they disliked stuff that Monet did, which I thought was awesome. He's basically giving nicknames. Hey, Zoe, calling Lorenzo Zoe and stuff like that. I thought that was cool. So I'm glad to see that because personally, I thought they killed Mecca too fast when they introduced him on this show. So I was glad that both him and Lorenzo had their time to come back. And of course, Zeke, obviously, we're going to see where that conversation goes because as Dana and I spoke about on the trailer discussion we had, we do think that the character that's going to be introduced, the cousin, that could very well be, the person that was acting as Zeke's mom, some time ago. We'll find out. She'll show up on this show at some point in the episodes ahead, so we'll see. And finally, Drew, I love how crazy and unhinged this character was the entire episode. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the character that I am rooting for them to get rid of. So I cannot wait for that to happen. I love how everything that was in that trailer that we saw a couple of weeks ago, it pretty much was in this episode. Most of it happened in this episode. So that tells you that there's a lot of other things that are going to happen. I can't wait to see that. But yes, very deranged. The fact that he told Diana to try to kill Monet, very interesting because he doesn't want her to find out. But again, at some point, she is going to find out now that she is out of a coma. So let's see what happens. And the whole plan to kidnap Brayden's sister, Becca, to lure him out, that was smart as well. But it did not work in his favor. So let's see what happens moving forward. And finally, my third takeaway of this episode, and to go to the point that Gary mentioned earlier, the power weapons training expert. Now, let me just say this right now. The scene where Tariq, first and foremost, let me just say this. Michael Rainey Jr.'s acting as Tariq was outstanding. In this episode, he made decisions that exactly like his father would have made. The whole plan to set up this whole thing where you have the vehicle driving towards the guards, and then they were there to just shoot him down. That was awesome. And then the way that he basically did that whole deal with Noma while he was holding Junior at gunpoint, this is exactly the type of way that Ghost would act. Even how he was talking with Junior, being very disrespectful, talking about his aunt, and then how he killed them. Very cold-blooded. This is exactly how Ghost would act. So I love this. I love this for the character. But let me just say this. The scene where they took out all those guards, and I did laugh because I spoke about this with Gary afterward because I'm like, these guys have become highly trained weapons experts. And that was what I did, ladies and gentlemen. I am the one that came in from Stars and taught them how to shoot perfectly. Because now I will say this, for Tariq, it makes sense, right? We've seen Tariq as a character. He took out Ray. You've seen his trajectory of all the stuff that he's done to become a cold-blooded killer. But with Brayden, this is a character that last season didn't want to kill anybody, and then he had to kill his uncle. And that came out of emotion because his uncle wasn't listening. He reacted. So to see him come out in this episode, obviously he was hesitant to do it, but he caught a couple of bodies as well. So I thought that was pretty entertaining to see. Makes me curious to see what else he's going to do this season, because I know that both Michael and Giovanni, who play these characters, they did say on their podcast that they do a lot of crazy things this season. So we're probably going to see more from them in regards to, how they attack people. Maybe there's fighting as well, because Tariq does need to learn how to squabble because he got whooped the last time he fought Kane. So I can't wait to see that showdown. But yeah, everything they did with Tariq in this episode, I like. The fact that even Tariq, the fact that they brought back that character Pinky, who was spying on Anya and knew where she was at. This type of meticulous thinking, this is the stuff that Ghost would do. That's why I said I like where the character is going. And he's very savage. So I got to give him props on that. And the whole thing that you mentioned, Gary, about them going back to Stansfield to get the money that was stashed there, it was all fantastic. So I think that it was an excellent plan as far as what they did. But the fact that Tariq is very self-aware that even though he had this deal with Noma where he could stay alive for now, you cannot trust that. So I'm very curious to see what happens from here on out, because obviously this is still a problem until you resolve the issue. So looking forward to seeing what happened. But overall, this was a fantastic opening episode for the final season. And I can't wait to see what happens next.
Oh yeah, indeed. Excellent takeaways. And yeah, I agree with you. Like when Noma put the hit on them, like the 100K, that definitely increased the tension in the episode, because it was already a pretty intense episode, and they did a great job of, like, you know, keeping the suspense going and everything until the last moment. So I agree with you there. And yeah, as for the green cards as well, so that's one thing I wanted to bring up too, right? Because I feel like wasting the USB thing on the green cards was like very underwhelming, because, you know, at the end of the last season, Junior gets that USB from Sax, and we're all thinking, oh, this must be some groundbreaking information. Like this is probably going to change the stakes of everything. And then it just ends up being, you know, Obie's green cards, like, you know, and I guess this is something that links Tariq to Tate and everything, and Obie, and it's how he figures out that Tariq is selling for Noma and all that stuff. So I guess it creates that link in the story, but yeah, I just feel like the way they did it was very underwhelming, because they kind of like set that up like to be something big, and it just kind of ended up crashing in the first episode. But yeah, Dana, go ahead. You wanted to say something about that.
Nope. Pay attention to what happened this episode. So, remember how it opens with the two lookout guard people saying, you know, basically they know that he sent the green card. He received the green cards from Tariq, and that he's working with Tariq. I strongly feel that they told Noma beforehand. And Noma is just playing the long game, because look what happened for this episode. So he told them that information, and boom, boom, they got shot in the head. Oh, it's done and over with, right? But then all of a sudden, we've seen these characters. What we would say, like a good season. We had a season. Was it a season and a half, or is it just a whole season? I guess we'll just say a season.
Wait, who? Which characters?
We Noma and Obie.
Season 3.
Yeah.
So
We've seen them a whole
season
season.
3.
Yeah.
And we've seen them for a whole season, right? Never once did we get the intention that, oh, there was some kind of romance that could have lingered, or, you know, oh, Obie had a relationship once or twice, or maybe there was a stolen kiss. We never got that. But then all of a sudden, Obie was like, yeah, don't worry, I can take it out off of you. Just relax a little bit. Come on in, you know, just grab on to me. Where did that come from? All of a sudden, out of the blue. And she slapped him. And I was like, I hope she slapped him, because I don't like where this is going. All of a sudden that happened. I feel that she knows what Obie did, and he knows that she might know. And I think that this is when we're starting to see Obie is going to die. Point blank and period. We just don't know when. But that whole scene seems so out of character, and the fact that the guards knew, definitely Noma does. Noma's way smarter than the guards. You don't think she's not going to do a little Google schmoogle and figure out, you know, oh, he got green cards. How did he acquire the green cards? Oh, what was Tariq? All of a sudden, Brayden showed up during our shootout. Oh, where did he come from? You know, maybe Noma has the entire place bugged. Maybe it's the Diddy thing where there's cameras everywhere and you just don't know you're being filmed. So Obie is going to get his end. He is going to die. And I felt that this was like, here's the evidence and everything that we need in this episode. So even something is mentioning as, oh, the green cards came in. Here's the file. May have seemed like a throwaway situation. It wasn't.
Yeah, but I feel like they could have did that storyline, that whole OB thing without like the USB though. Like I feel like they could have used the USB thing from Sax to set up something greater, because they still could have did the OB thing with Noma, with them knowing about the green cards. They could have still did that, without um the flash drive being that information. And also, how did Sax even get that? Like, did Sax was Sax interacting with Tate at any point last season? I can't remember, but I'm curious how Sax got that information. But yeah, uh, I was just expecting more from that, but it just kind of it seemed like it was kind of resolved in the first episode. But go ahead, Rich. Did you want to say something?
Let me just add this. Yeah, you made the comment earlier about Agent Young getting taken out too early. I agree 100% because I thought they were going to do more with the character. Obviously, though, I think this is about Don Carter, right? Because we don't know a lot about this character. We only know what little information we've gotten before, and clearly he has a past connected to ghosts. That will be revealed, I feel, as the season goes on. But they wanted to really focus on him because they made point out the fact that he is he's very much involved in his work. He's very much obsessed with taking down drug dealers. So I feel it will be his job to be a thorn in the side of Tariq and anyone else that's doing drugs. So in order to really focus in on him, I guess they had to get rid of all this other side stuff with Agent Young. So in those regards, I understand it. But yeah, he got taken out very quickly. But he did take out one of those the assigned assassins. So, and that was a very brutal. That guy got taken out pretty brutally, from what I recall. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then Tariq took credit for it immediately after. But yeah, great points though. Overall, so let's get into some questions here. So I mean, Dana just she just kind of answered one of the questions I had, but I'll bring it up again so that Rich could have his say. But yeah, basically this question was how long until Obie is sleeping with the fishes? Because I feel like this character is going to get taken out pretty quickly this season. So, Rich, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of points that Dana made. The fact that Noma could already know some information about what Obie's been doing, but I also think that the answer to all of this is Kane, because they alluded to the fact they already told us that Kane is trying to work his way into her organization. And what we know about Kane from watching this show since the very beginning, he's able to find out when somebody's lying, because he did that with the whole thing with Diana's boyfriend. He was able to establish that they were lying. They have a motive, and expose it. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be the one that finds out that Obie, he's been communicating with Tariq. He helped them, and he's going to be the one that makes sure that Obie sleeps with the fishes. I think that's coming from a mile away, because it would explain, because even in this episode, you saw when after everything happened with Kane getting shot, right away, Noma was saying, yes, we need to get you medical attention. And she made it a point to send the doctor to their place to basically take care of Kane, to make sure he got fixed up. Even though Kane is like, I need to get my hands on Tariq. He tried to take out my mom. She obviously was more concerned about, yes, you need a doctor. So I kind of feel like that's the start of this bond coming together. And then when he tells her that Obie actually is helping Tariq, that's it for Obie. Game over. So that's what my guess is. But we'll see what happens. But yes, Gary, he will get taken out fast. Maybe by episode 3, I would say. Definitely, he will not be there by the mid-season finale. I highly doubt that. But it's going to definitely happen within the next couple episodes.
Oh yeah, like I totally agree that I think Kane is gonna like be his replacement, probably. And Noma will probably ask Kane to kill him, maybe. So yeah, I could see that happening. And that was a good point you made out, that she immediately tried to get him medical attention, like to make sure he was good. So she sees the value in him already, it seems like. But yeah, Dana, any more thoughts on Obie and Noma and Kane and all that stuff? You're muted.
It's gonna be noise. I'm muted. I'm so sorry. Okay, so what I do want to say is I think that it was out of, hey, I need someone right now to kill him. It's not someone out of care. It's just solely the fact that I need you to take care of the situation, but I can't have you have a bullet in you. So I think that is the only reason why that happened that way. It wasn't like, oh my God, I care about you. It was, no, I just need you. You can die later, but I need you right now.
Oh, interesting. So okay, so she doesn't really care about him, but she just wants him to serve a purpose. It is what you're saying. And yeah, that could be the case also.
She
Noma is
care.
pretty emotionless. So go ahead.
If you really look at it, she doesn't really care about anyone except for her daughter. She expressed that about her daughter, and then we'll go into later about what the relationship between her daughter and her father. But it seemed like that was the only people that she cared about was her daughter. Everyone is expendable. Obie right now is being needed. He is that helping hand, even though he tried that weird pass, which is slowly his downfall. But until he is no longer needed, she's gonna keep him around. I feel overall everyone is disposable.
Okay, yeah, let's go into the daughter now. So we got Anya Covington. We got the introduction to the character. I'm not sure if we're gonna see her again, because I remember on the IMDb she was only on episode 1, so I'm not sure if we'll see her again. But I wanted to know what you thought of the character, and the scenes that she had. I feel like the actor did a great job. First of all, she did what she needed to do. And I like that there's tension between Noma and Anya. And I actually hope that we do see the character again. Maybe IMDb isn't accurate. Maybe we will see her again. Who knows? But I like that they planted that seed of there being tension between them, and Anya was basically blaming Noma for what happened, and for endangering herself and the family and everyone around them and stuff. So what did you think of that whole thing, Dana?
Gosh, here's the thing for me. I felt like, I'm sorry if there's a noise. I apologize for the
we can come back to you if you want.
Yes, please do that.
Yeah. Okay. Richard, what did you think of Anya Covington?
So yeah, well, to answer, first and foremost, we are going to see the character again. I think IMDb might be incorrect, because there was a picture that showed, Noma talking to her, and then you had some other characters in the background. So we'll see her again. I'm assuming that. But as for the character, yes, she does have some type of tension with her mom. I don't really fully believe that she knows what really happened to her father. And we know what happened to her father, because we saw her father get taken out by Noma last season. So I don't think she fully knows exactly what happened to him in that context. So there's a lot of secrets that Noma is keeping from her daughter, and sooner or later, those secrets may come to a head. But the other interesting thing is, when we saw the description of the season description of the synopsis for this season, it was talking about Brayden flirting with a very reckless, dangerous lifestyle. And as Dana and I spoke about, I didn't know if that meant that this had to do with Anya, because obviously this is somebody who she is the daughter of your enemy right now, so you probably shouldn't get close to that character. But that's why I said, because she doesn't know what her mom is actually doing, I feel like this means she is going to get involved without knowing that she shouldn't be involved in this situation, meaning that she could have an interaction with Tariq or Brayden, and that can go somewhere. So I'm curious to see where they're going with that, because it kind of feels like we're going to see more of that character, and she's going to interact with other characters. We have to see how the storyline plays out. But I do think, just from the simple fact that Noma refuses to tell her the truth, that lets you know she's going to find out the truth at some point, and she may get herself caught up in what's happening right now.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I would love if there was some sort of situation where it was like Romeo and Juliet where she falls for somebody on the other side, and there's a little romance there going on. That would be interesting. But Dana, are you good to talk yet?
I am
Uh,
good to talk. I am so sorry about that. There was a
so good.
construction and it just went awry. In regards to Anya, I do believe that, this is okay. So I know I don't like to compare things, but look, remember the whole situation with Angela and he was using someone on the outside, but he happened to fall in love with her and like she ended up being the love of his life. I don't think we're going to see that. I think what we're going to see is maybe Tariq is able to use Anya. I do not believe it's going to be one episode. This is going to be a full-blooded, full fleshed out character. Where it's going to be a situation. He is going to manipulate Anya to, be the sympathetic guy so that he can gain more information about Noma. He's going to use her, and who knows whether or not she lives or she dies. That really isn't the point. The point is that he is going to use her in order to gain that information that is needed to either defeat, kill, or whatever, but to definitely handicap Noma. And I think that this is a very smart thing. He learned how to be manipulative from his family. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of those tactics that were used in the original Power and him incorporating that into this season. So I think that Anya is going to be an important person in the series. And I do think that she could be the downfall of her mother. At the moment, I do not like how the character is, just because I don't know. She came across as someone who's really whiny and someone that we've seen before in the terms of "Mom, I can't stand you. I miss Dad. You're never here with me." That kind of way. I could grow to like her, but for right now, for this introduction, she was very spoiled bratish, and in a way, she reminded me of Tariq. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's a good comparison, especially with the headphones part as well. Like yeah, you can make that comparison because Tariq was very bratty in original Power. Um, and yeah, I mean, I would love for the character to be, a reoccurring character. And I do agree that she is Noma's biggest weakness, basically. Like that's if you're trying to get at Noma, that's the way to really get to her. We saw how like you know off her paces Noma was in this episode. Like she was very scatterbrained. Like we hadn't really seen her like that before. Like she always comes across as confident and in control. And this episode, she was just like, she was under stress. Um, so yeah, I do think that that's going to be the biggest weak point if you do want to get at Noma. And this episode showed us like family is a weakness in general because Kane went after the Westerns, and I mean the family is a big part of the whole theme with the Tejadas. So yeah, I think family is going to be a big part of the this season, and there's going to be a lot of like get backs between the families. So yeah, I could totally see that. I do hope that we see the character again. Any final words before we move on? Yeah, go ahead, Dana. Yeah, muted. You want us to keep going? Okay, keep going. Okay, she's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's move on. And let me see which question. Um, Okay, yeah. So what do you think of Detective Carter's introduction? What do you expect from this character after his introduction? I like one thing I'll say is I think it was a great idea to kind of connect his story with Paz and the fact that she's grieving her son, because that only intensified like his motivations, because they already kind of showed us his motivations when he was like, talking to the pastor, giving his confessions and all that stuff. Like, so we kind of got a glimpse of what his motivations are. He wants to avenge his wife and stuff, but then linking it to Paz and then making him promise that he's going to bring down whoever killed her son just makes it, it was a perfect way to end the episode, because then it's like, okay, so he's going directly for Tariq, in this season. So yeah, that was very well done, the introduction. But what do you expect of this character? Now we know that this is a very talented actor. We've seen him in films and shows as well. So yeah, I'm sure this character is going to be very significant. He's going to play a big role in the season, and maybe even the climax of the show. So what do you guys expect from that? So I'm going to go to you first, Richard. What do you think?
Well, normally in the world of power, whenever there is a detective introduced and they are become obsessed with taking out a target, they don't survive. I don't feel that is the case with this character, because as you both alluded to, it was the way it was presented is that this guy is without a doubt going to be absolutely relentless. And I think that he is going to achieve some success as far as taking out, whether it's arresting or having to take out any of these people that are players right now in all of this. Uh, we do know from the screenshots that we saw, he's going to be questioning a lot of the characters, including Tariq, because they showed that in the trailer. So I feel as though he's going to definitely be obsessed. He's going to definitely also be talking to Monet, because we saw photographs that he's taken with Mary J. Blige. So he is going to definitely get very deep into what's happening to do everything that he can to take down Tariq. But I do want to make mention of this. You made the comment, Gary, about obviously hearing about what happened with Junior and his, and basically him talking with Paz that made him want to get involved. But I really also think, as it was already mentioned, this is very much tied to whatever happened between him and James in the past. Because clearly, I feel this is a situation where the sins of the father will come back, and now the son is going to have to deal with this. Now, Tariq also has other stuff that he has done that he's going to have to deal with, in addition to this. But even like we know with Mecca, when they introduced Mecca last season, and then how he talked about how he had a connection to ghosts and Lobos or all this other stuff. So this is a similar situation, and I'm very curious to see them explain this story of what Don Carter's connection is to ghosts, because clearly there's a lot more to this as to why he is obsessed, because he knows who James is, and now he knows who Tariq is. So I want to see where they're going with that. But to answer your question, Gary, I think this character is going to have some success. Do I think that he will eventually get taken out? I have no idea. It feels as though because how this guy is as an actor, because they made it a point to tell you how serious and intense he is, even that in that entire scene that we saw him in. I really think he's going to have some type of success in taking out somebody, taking down or taking out somebody. So we have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to it. That's why I can't wait to see the next episode.
Oh yeah, me too, me too. And yeah, like he also has like a very like kind of rough presence to him. Like he seems like he's willing to get his hands dirty to achieve what he wants, which is basically to bring these characters to justice. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some dirty cop tactics coming from him. Like, like he might really play dirty, like we've seen no other cop do before in the show. Well, except maybe jukebox, but yeah. Go ahead, Rich.
So are you suggesting, Gary, that he may try to manipulate Monet to get close to Tariq? Because that was instantly what I thought of because they had the scenes out there of him being around Monet. Obviously, he has an agenda. He wants to get rid of Tariq or get his hands on Tariq. So he knows Tariq is working with them or has a past with them. Are you suggesting that perhaps this is what we can see from him as far as getting dirty?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's a great point. Like I do think that maybe one of his strategies is like, okay, I want to get at Tariq, who are his enemies at the moment, and then he ends up going to the Tahadas, to kind of create some more friction and maybe get some information or set something up. Who knows? But yeah, I think that could be something, and that was by the way, that was a tactic that Howard used, I believe, in Raising Canaan season 1, where like he was kind of getting in the middle of like Raquel and Unique. So yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of that from Detective Howard. I mean, sorry, Detective Carter. Um, yeah, and I think Dana's still busy, but yeah. Any other thoughts on? I really do want to get her take on Detective Carter, but any other thoughts on Detective Carter, real quick? You here, Dana?
Yes, yep, I'm here. So sorry about that.
Okay, I think she's busy still. So, yeah, Richard, like, have you like, what do you think? Damn, I had a question, but any other thoughts on Detective Carter, basically, before we jump ahead, because we can come
Oh
back
no,
to Dana.
we'll come back to Dana. Yeah,
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead,
Okay.
Dana.
Go ahead, Dana.
I deeply apologize. It is. I'm so sorry for what's going on. But
Life
what I want
happens.
to
It's
say
okay.
is,
Oh, you muted. You muted.
I deeply apologize for the technical difficulties. No, what I wanted to say in regards to Carter, um, from when we did our last podcast, Richard and I, we discussed that Carter, he's on a vendetta. His wife was murdered it didn't disclose who it was, but it was a gang member. And it was two rival gangs, and we're assuming that she either was caught up in the crossfire and an innocent bystander, or maybe she worked in the department. But we don't know, the details yet. And we're only in the first episode, so we're not going to really know the details as it is. What I wanted to say is, by him being someone who is on a vendetta, I strongly believe that he is not going to operate within the laws. So we're going to see a lot of illegal tactics and illegal things. When we saw that photograph of him with Monet, obviously they are both gunning for, literally, gunning for Tariq. And they want to take down the St. Patrick's. A couple things that I said here. The St. Patrick's, not just Tariq. And we made it very clear where we know the sister, Tasha, we know that Tasha is still alive. We know that the grandma is still alive. We know that Tommy, Uncle Tommy, technically he is part of the family, even though this is not my war. With that said, I believe that Carter is going to make it his war. So we could see that. It made it very clear that everything that he did was for his family. And I strongly feel that just like we saw a glimpse of the previous seasons where we saw members come in and out of the family, we're going to have to see that strong union in this season because it's not just Monet that's after him. It's not just Noma, but it's Detective Carter. And we don't know the baggage that he has with um, Ghost. So that could be a connection to Tasha as well. So, and then you have the whole Angela situation. And there's that angerment from Angela and being tied up with Ghost as well. So I feel that this is the opportune time for Monet to manipulate Carter into doing her well wishes. Because if you look at it right now, the family is fractured. Drew is still every 2 seconds. Why is Monet alive? Why is she alive? Smother her with a pillow, knock her out, run over with car. I think that she's going to need protection, and that he could be that protection for her. So that's how I see him coming into this. Also, previously, because my thing wasn't working to talk, I want to say this, that this shows you a lot of the lifestyle that Tariq was protected from by Ghost. And him fully seeing what this lifestyle entails may have him coming at this from a different approach, where if he does make it, maybe Brayden is going to just be the lone drug dealer. Maybe Tariq is like, I'm done. That could be a really big awakening to see how this ends up playing out. And I like this so far because we're seeing everything that Ghost didn't want him to be, he has to become. And whether or not he can make it, we don't know. But I'm really liking what they are starting to do with this season, even with just this one episode. So yeah, that's just kind of how.
Sorry, sorry, I had to step away 1 sec. But yeah, I missed the last part of what you said. But yeah, I agree that we'll see a lot of dirty, underhanded tactics from Detective Carter. And yeah, like I do want to see. I know you mentioned Tasha, and I do hope she shows up quite a bit in this season. Because I mean, it's the final season. I kind of feel like we need to see, more of Tasha, especially since she is the one who fired the shots at Monet. So they need to kind of give us some closure there too.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see Tasha versus Monet. That's what you're saying, Gary.
Oh, yeah, hey, I would love that. I'm here for it. I hope they go in that direction. I mean, so let's ask this question. This is an additional question since we're talking about Tasha. Since it is the final season, do you see possibly maybe that character getting killed off? Because that would really set a fire under Tariq, and it would make him more independent than he's ever been if he lost his mother. Like he would have like essentially no parents. So do you think that that could be a possibility of happening in this season? I'll go to you. Go ahead, Rich. You're unmuted.
1000% yes. Not just to build the character, but the thing about it is this: even though as fans we are rooting for Tariq. As I said at the start of this podcast, what he did with the whole thing with Junior and how he was acting towards him, all the actions he's done in this episode and prior, while it's cool to see him getting payback, still, this guy still can't have a happy ending. And the whole thing is that he wanted to eventually get out and get reunited with his mom, his sister, and his grandmother. So he has to lose something to feel just how serious his actions have been. And that's why I say he lost the money, obviously, last season, lost access to his money because of all the stuff that was happening, the Ponzi scheme, so on with Weston Holdings. That's done and out the picture. But it feels like with his mom, that is, again, like you both said, family is important. So I kind of feel like, yes, something probably has to happen to Tasha, unfortunately. But something has to happen to her because she got involved in this whole thing with Monet now. Monet will eventually, like I said, they will find out that she has something to do with this. So it's just a matter of what's going to happen with that situation, because Diana is the one that I think is going to find out that she is the one that did this. And she may relay that information, and then they're going to have to take care of that situation. But it's going to be very complicated in terms of what happens with that. Because another thing that Dana and I spoke about is that, hey, it's very possible that they may take a path with this storyline and say Diana is pregnant. So if she is pregnant by Tariq, Well, that'd be kind of dangerous. That would make it very complicated. We don't know what's going to happen. We know that we discussed that photo that they showed in the trailer, but I don't know what that means with no context. So don't know. But what I can say is, to answer your question, Gary, Tasha is, she's probably going to get taken out this season. I think I can see that coming.
Yeah, go ahead, Dana. What do you think?
To kind of dive in there, I know there was that picture. Again, we do not know. It was a picture of him and Diana on a wall. Was it Kane? Was it Kane and Diana? No, that wouldn't make any sense.
It was definitely Tariq. It was Tariq and Diana.
That's a different show. That would be Game of Thrones. No. So yes, it was Tariq and Diana, and it was a poster on the wall that it looked like the woman was pregnant, and we didn't know if it was a hospital. We didn't know if it was just a random poster. We didn't know where the location was. I hope that is not possible. I don't want this to be possible. I am the kind of person who I think would be poetic if Tariq accomplished none of it. And he died. Of course, he's not going to die, but he died and his family died. And that was the end of the St. Patrick's. I'm just dark like that. And I would like that. You wanted to be your father so much, so badly, that you're now dead like him. But and you got your entire family killed, which is something that Ghost would have never done. Because guess what? You're not Ghost. You thought you was, but your hard-headedness and your ego got your entire family murdered. Insane. But we all know that's not going to happen. But yes, I would appreciate if someone in the family did die. And, grandma would not really mean much, and neither would the little sister, but it would have to be Tasha. So I'm perfectly okay with Tasha dying. And I really feel that conversation that she had with Tommy was more like, I'm sorry for everything. Please forgive me of my sins, kind of thing. And who's to say that conversation was not just for Tommy, but for us as well? I don't want to live this way anymore. I take away all this anger and all this pain. And now I release you also from it as well, Tommy. And us, the audience. And now she dies. So,
I just want to make a quick comment. I like that theory. I would not mind seeing Tariq not make it out. But let me just say this for a second, because I want to put this out there to get y'all thoughts as well as the listeners. We know that ghosts never die, right? That's the tagline of these characters. And of course, Tariq has said to ghosts, I'm you, Dad. So how would you feel if by the end of this season, the way that Tariq gets out of the situation is he fakes his death, similar to how people thought that that's what happened with James St. Patrick? Do you think that people would like that, or would they be angry? Because, clearly I think James is dead, but I'm just curious to hear what you guys think as well as the listeners. But go ahead, Dana.
You're jogging my memory. So remember the season finale where Tommy explicitly said that, I'm sorry, I can't help you. 1, this is your war. And 2, in New York, I'm already dead. They think I'm dead. He faked his own death. He can't come back there. So yes, we could have a faking of our death situation, because that is the only way for them to truly be free. And technically, it would be nice if he has to completely leave the country. Because, New York City, that's great. Well, we're going to hang out. He ends up taking the trip that Tommy never took and go to Miami. It just feels like a regurgitation of what, was storyline before. I feel that the best way would just be to leave the country. And then here's the weird thing. Now, even though I still want him dead, yay. Remember how he was like, UK spinoff? We have that spinoff of him in another country and him having to be the fish out of water situationship. I technically don't want that because it's just a regurgitation, but now in a different location. I would prefer, again, him dead, or I fake my own death and now I'm a marine biologist working in, I don't know, the Park Zoo of Australia.
Oh wow, yeah, these are very excellent theories. Like I feel like a lot of that is possible, especially like the UK part because they're teasing like a UK spin-off. So I mean, Tariq in the UK, I mean, it could happen, I guess, in some capacity. And to answer your question, Richard, we do know they like to troll, you know, especially 50 and Michael Rainey Jr. and them. They like to troll. The perfect troll ending would be because they already know what we want. They already know people want, you know, Ghost to really be alive and he faked his death. The perfect troll ending would be that that's how it ends for Tariq, where he fakes his death and continues to live on. So I could totally see that being some sort of like troll ending that they do, like where he fakes his own death and lives on, and then maybe the next spin-off is his new life, you know, like Dana said. So yeah, I could see that. That's a very good possibility, I think. So yeah, great
It's just
prediction
for
there.
me. It was just for me that the show says words. It's not a show that just dumps words and then we never follow up on things again. I just truly feel that Tommy coming back and saying, I'm a ghost. I'm dead. I'm already dead. In a way that was advice that he was giving to Tariq, whether he knew it or not. Not just to say, I can't come back because I don't exist and this is going to start up a new problem for me. Even though he technically did come back to New York to try to kill Tasha. Remember that? So it was like, okay. But, I think he was giving him that way out. So, and then, the whole thing with the conversation that he had with Tasha was like, I gave you this important information so that you know that I trust you. And you know that I'm not going to kill you because guess what? I have a whole family in Chicago that you can technically, if you wanted to, hunt down. But I trust you not to. She has that information. She's always in contact with her son. Who's to say we're going to a road trip to Chicago? We need your help. I don't know. It just seemed like it was there for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for another crossover. We've seen, you know, Tommy come into Ghost. That would be cool to see Tariq going to Chicago and pulling up on Tommy. Um, I'm not sure if they will do that with this being the final season. I mean, or maybe if there is a Tommy appearance, maybe it will be in the last episode or something. But who knows? I mean, anything can happen. But yeah, any final thoughts on this before we move on to the next question? Okay, so yeah, I'll keep it moving. So the last shot of Tariq in this episode of Tariq and Brayden is, obviously this comes after the hit has been called off. They managed to, negotiate with Noma, and she's not going to try and kill them for now, basically. So they've bought themselves some time. And obviously Kane doesn't trust them still, and he would still like to kill Tariq, and he's just looking for a reason. Um, but the last kind of conversation they have is basically like, what are we going to do now? Like, we can't go back to dealing drugs. We can't. um I mean, maybe they can go back to Stansfield, but I don't want them to. Like, I hope that they don't just go back, and because they did have that conversation in the car where they was like, oh, what if, like, wouldn't it be great if we were just normal college students? But I don't think they should do that. Like, I don't think that's the direction they should go at this point in the story. But what is next for them? Like, because they can't deal drugs. Obviously, the hit is called off for now, so they've bought themselves some time. But we know that they're gonna get into some trouble again, and it's not completely friendly with the Tejadas and Noma. Like, there's still tension. So, like, what is the next move for these two? Like, do you have any thoughts or any ideas of what you think they might try and do next in the story? Because, like, I get the feeling that Tariq is kind of thinking survival and longevity at this point, and Brayden kind of got disowned from his family. Like, his father, called him a white monkey and said, "Oh, those blacks are changing my son," you know, um, basically. So there was that whole thing. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think is next for both Tariq and Brayden? And I'll go to you first, Richard. What do you think?
Well, I thought that was a pretty hilarious scene. Obviously we knew that Brayden had another relative that clearly was racist, and they said, "Well, no, my father isn't like that." So now you know what the deal is. So I thought that was a funny revelation. Okay, but to answer your question, Gary, I think you made the point earlier about the fact that Tariq could try to manipulate Anya, because the thing about it is this: they have no product now. They are sitting ducks, and it's a situation where Noma can still have them killed at any time when she wants to. They have a deal for now, but how long is that deal going to last? And I kind of feel like if you're in a situation where your back is against the wall, what are you going to do? What can you do? Now, one thing I will say is I do think Tariq is still going to be trying to get intel from Obie as to see what Noma is doing, what is her intentions. And this is at the point where I think Kane is going to find out and going to take out Obie. So, but what can they do for now? I have no idea. What we do know, and Dana and I talked about this in the last recap we did of the trailer, is that it looks as though they're going to sabotage some of the products that she has, because they had that truck where there was a fire. You can see stuff that was on fire. So I kind of feel like obviously something is going to happen that sets this off. And that's why I say we need to see how they utilize other characters within this particular storyline, specifically Anya. But I just kind of feel like we are going to see them on campus, because, again, you have Broomshilda in the group that she's in. You saw them introduced in this episode, but there was a picture of them together on stage. So clearly, I think they're going to still remain at Stansfield as if everything is normal. It's going to be a very awkward type of situation. You go to class and you see, Diana is over there and Effie. It's going to be a very awkward situation. All right. What we do know is that Tariq did see Kane and Effie together when Kane saw him and started running after him. So I do expect him to have another conversation with Effie in the next episode and ask her, "Yeah, I saw you trying, you still hanging around Kane," stuff like that. They're going to have their little conversation. But for right now, I think there's not really anywhere else that Tariq could really go. I mean, I think he'll be at Stansfield, unless I just don't know where they can go. Now, I do think at some point he is going to tell Tasha what happened, because, again, we saw a scene of him talking to Tasha in the trailer. So I think that's what's going to happen. He'll probably tell Tasha what his situation is, and she may give him some ideas as to what he can consider doing. But for now, I just think they're going to be trying to plot and figure out what they can do to try to get themselves up from under Noma for good. But I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I'll be curious to hear what Dana says, what you say, and as well as the listeners as well.
Oh yeah, we'll go to Dana next. What do you think? Any thoughts on where you think what you think Tariq and Brayden might do next?
Yes. Remember, Richard, when we did our last thing and we broke down those photos, there was that dusty boyfriend Diana dated that was like an amalgamation of Tariq Nasheed and Dr. Umar. But remember, he's in this series. Why he is back, we don't know. But I do believe it's going to be some form of stupidity of manipulation. And I know that it was he was fighting Tariq in that scene. It was I believe it was either Tariq or was Kane, but I'm very sure that it was Tariq. So I believe that this little nosy Nancy is going to somehow maybe worm his way back in and could be useful for a minute, maybe just a minute, in terms of getting Tariq and Brayden what they need. We don't know what that is right now, aside from intel. We don't know if that is a drug situationship. We don't know if it's just access to the campus. But they're not completely, remove themselves from Stansfeld. We do know that, as you stated before, there was that girl group that is coming to fruition. So we will have that. And that little white girl from the premiere episode, which is like, teach me your ways. I feel that she might be embedded in this as well. And that wasn't Becca. That was like someone completely different. So she is definitely going to be embedded in this as well. I really do feel that is going to work. Also, we do have to remember that Tate, Councilman Tate, who is now Congressman running Tate, he is still in this, and he is still very easy to manipulate. So that's how we were going to get him as well. I forgot what the original question was. What was the original question?
Oh, like what do you think Tariq and Brayden will do next, basically? Because like they're all like, oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So.
Well, they don't have any money. Remember here's the thing that I think we're also forgetting as well. There is no trust fund anymore. Remember, that was all wrapped up in the Ponzi scheme. And as we all learned from Bernie Madoff and them, you ain't getting that money back. So there is no money to have. I remember when the stash house, which was basically a storage unit, and Brayden got really excited. He's like, oh, snap, you got some money. And he's like, no, but I got these oddly modified, weapons grade mass destruction guns, but no money. So I do feel that right now the priority is to get money. We do know that Davis is working with them because he is stuck in a situation where money at this moment does not matter. And I did interview a Method Man, and he did say, in a sense, that right now he's the only character that he can trust in this moment, and they both need each other, whether or not they like it. Because you saw, remember when Davis thought that his job was good, he was doing the Diddy freak off in the shower with all the women's and things. But the second that he found out that, hey, he doesn't have a job anymore, and Tariq was like, look, I ain't got no money either. We do know by that photo of them being in the car, by that trailer, that they're going to work with each other. So I feel that they're going to utilize and put together their resources. And as grimy as Davis is, and even though Sachs is dead, at this moment, he seems to have more resources than Tariq does. So I feel that he is going to have to start branching out and making new connections. And one of the things that was teased when I spoke to Michael Rainey Jr. was we're going to see connections with people that we would have never thought we would have seen before being connected. So I think that he is going to be okay. He is going to just have to do an outreach program that's like, hey, I hate you, but I need you right now. So we're gonna get them crossovers. The forbidden door is always gonna be rotating right now in this season. Gotcha.
Let me just say that's outstanding information. When you said the comment about connections with people we never thought we would see, who is the club owner that tried to get Truth? What is this guy's name again? Do you remember his name?
Simon Stern.
There you go, Simon Stern. Is it possible Tariq could be reaching out to Simon Stern?
He could be reaching out to him as well. Maybe he's reaching out to his dad's old connects. Remember
the lawyer too.
Old connects?
Yeah.
And remember, there are people who are in that gang world who were his dad's old connects.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe true. Enemies of his father who now need him.
Uh-oh. Well, yeah. Interesting.
So, Yeah. So it could get that deep. We just don't know right now, but we could start seeing people that we was like, hey, why didn't they show up earlier? Now they're showing up. But you don't know. But those were like the big main things. They need each other right now. And if you kind of noticed with this episode, he, called him little bro. It was just by passing. We don't know whether or not that was like a term of endearment or if that was just a wordplay. But right now, he is looking at him, or the possibility in the future of looking at him as brother. Because, like, brother, I need you. Brother, I don't like you right now, but you right now could be the only family I have. Remember, his own brother is now dead. Everything that Davis worked for is now completely at risk and in danger. And by his brother dying, you could say in vain, maybe he adopts him as his own. So that's what I can say.
Yeah, I was trying to remember his name, but I do think Tariq is gonna seek out the dude who played Chris from The Wire. Because remember they have
Oh
the
yeah.
whole the
Mhm.
whole Queen's Child project that they would, like, he was trying to buy like the family estate and everything. So I do think that's one person as well he could turn to. I think Councilman Tate is another good call as well, because his name was brought up in this episode, like, the whole with the green cards. So I do think that there needs to be like some kind of other reference to that, like the fact that Tariq went to Councilman Tate. Like maybe Tate needs to kind of clear his name or something. Like maybe one of the leads that Detective Carter will have is that Tariq did get those green cards. Like maybe because obviously, like, if he's talking to Paz, she could tell him some of the things that her son was working on, and that could be one lead that he has. And maybe there's a situation where Tate's reputation is called into question, and then Tate has to seek out Tariq to kind of clean things up or something, so, or maybe they have like a favor for a favor kind of situation where it's like, I need you to clean this up for me. And Tariq's like, oh, but I need you to help me with this because, so who knows? I think there's a lot Tariq could do at the moment. It could go in a lot of directions, but they do need to give him some more motivations after this episode, I feel like. But go ahead, Rich. You were going to say something.
Yeah, quick comment, because I looked up the name. It's RSJ. Yeah, I also forgot about that name, so glad you mentioned that. But I just want to ask you a question, Gary, because you and Dana made the point about Tate. Y'all don't think that now that Tate is in Congress, he may just try to sidestep Tariq if Tariq tries to reach out to him? Nah, brother. I got where I needed to get, so I would have nothing else to do with you. Y'all don't think that he would have that type of attitude towards Tariq?
Oh yeah, definitely. We know Tate's feeling himself a little too much, So yeah, he's gonna look down on Tariq for sure.
And then 1,000%. This, Councilman Tate is slimy and dirty. And remember, he lost the woman. He lost his would have been wife. So he might end up having it out for Davis and Tariq this season as well. So I definitely do see him being slimy and untrustworthy. He was never trustworthy to begin with, but extra slimy and untrustworthy. So yeah. And then as you guys mentioned, RSJ. What is he? The black billionaire with a B. So he can come in very handy, and he has connects with Noma. Very good connects. And remember, he initially was supposed to mentor Tariq. So we don't know how that's going to come into play, but he could easily come back. But he's hiding right now because of the Ponzi scheme. Remember, the feds like investigated. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if we're going to see any more on that story with, the whole Westerns and the Ponzi scheme. Like, is there any like aftermath or anything, Um, that's a good point. But yeah, I think we'll get to final thoughts now. So, obviously this was the first episode, so like all the leads are like kind of open, all the ties are kind of open. We don't know where it's going to go. So, the best we could do is give our predictions, give our takes based on what we've seen so far. And I can't wait to see the trailer for the next episode. But yeah, we'll jump into our final thoughts. And for me, I just want to say, like, yeah, I really, this was a great premiere, great way to start the season. I think it was a very intense episode. It really set the tone. I like how they introduced Detective Carter. I like the callbacks to, previous Power seasons and original Power. Um, I do think that they are starting to plant those seeds and of Tariq really becoming Ghost now. Like it's taken 4 seasons, but I could really see the succession kind of taking place of like, okay, yeah, he's learning from his father. And I feel like it's coming full circle to where he started off hating his father, but now I feel like he has to kind of understand that he is his father. Like he's become his father. And I hope that this leads to him kind of connecting to his father in a new way of like, I understand why you made the choices you made now. I hope that that becomes part of his journey in this season of like the realization and understanding um, of what his father did and stuff. So, yeah, good way to start the season. Very strong start, and I want to see what they do next. Really, so it's my final thoughts. How about you, Rich? What's your final thoughts?
I agree 100%. Fantastic way to open the season. And as far as my final thoughts, one thing that's very important to mention. I know when Dana and I did the previous video, we were talking about the synopsis and the fact that there was comments about the fact that Tariq, all of his ghosts coming from the past, stuff that he has to deal with. I honestly think that is a central theme for every character this season. Because again, and we saw it in this episode, Drew obviously does not want Monet to find out that him and Diana tried to have her taken out. You have the fact that Brayden, I kind of think that what happened with Brayden and his uncle, that could still come back later. And as they find out, though, yeah, he had something to do with that as well. And then, of course, with Effie and the fact that eventually she's going to have to make a choice, but there's still so much we don't know about this character that we haven't really discovered yet. So I kind of feel like a lot of people in this season, we're going to learn more about them, and they're also going to suffer consequences for some of the decisions that they have made as well. So that's why I'm very excited and looking forward to seeing what happens. But overall, this was a great way to open the season. I can't wait to see what everybody comments and says about what they thought about this episode, and I look forward to episode 2.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And how about you, Dana? What's your final thoughts?
This was an excellent episode, and I again appreciate the fact that it jumped right in there. It started without missing a single beat of what was going down and what was happening. I wanted to mention really quickly that 50 Cent is a musical genius. I love the music in this. It really felt like, you use music to guide you in the scene, but it really like takes a hold of you. I love when they do like you would like it's not the heist. We didn't see that this season, but we saw that remember that bounty scene where everyone's trying and hunting down for Tariq, and it had that music that went with it while Tariq is trying to just gather all of the money. The music in this is so great, even when at the very end when we're introduced to Detective Carter, it had that dramatical, over the top, a little bit music. There were moments and scenes in between each like thing that was just a little too Maybe when they had like a Kane and Effie had that kiss, and that music was just a little over dramatic, but I liked it so much that it just felt like a real soap opera. Um, this episode, and so I really do appreciate that. I love the fact that they're filling out all of the characters while introducing this new one, Detective Carter, and then bringing back in Paz without Paz feeling like she's forced into each scene. It really felt like a natural rhythm, and you do see the structure of death and violence and grief and how it all ends up impacting you just overall. I do like the fact that even though you think from going back with Ghost being dead, you would think, oh, that's the end, that solves all my problems. How it doesn't, how you in life in general still have your own problems, but you also end up taking on the person who's now dead and his problems, which we saw with Ghost. And we're going to see with Carter coming back. Well, you know what? He's dead. So what? I'm coming after you next. So you have to literally, you're fighting for not only your life, but you have to make up for the debts of your father as well. So I really liked how they're incorporating that into this season. And with this finale, I truly do feel that anything can happen at this moment. Anyone can die. Even Brayden can die, which I think will just be terrible. But even Brayden can die at this point because we're at the point where there's nothing left to lose. There is no next season. They may end up pulling what all networks do, and it's like, oh, it's another spinoff. Instead of let's paying the actors more, we're gonna just give them a spinoff and call it a new show, so we can pay them at the same rate. But we do know that Michael Rainey, right? He Junior, he did have a photo that was up with him being in the Lionsgate's offices, and then I think he deleted it. And this was before the Lionsgate was being sold off. What was it? Stars and Lionsgate was sold off because there's this huge thing with the money and they're getting split, but not. Anyway, that's beside the point. The point is, there are more things to come in store. We just don't know if this is going to be a continuation of the St. Patrick name, or if this is like, I don't know, Bob the Black Builder and his new show with Brayden, the White Bunny. So we don't know, but I do love how they're doing this season so far. And so far, it seems like they up the stakes and they introduce these new characters, which further up the stakes even more. And there's a lot that he has to deal with. So I look forward to what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Good takes. And I agree. Like the music selection is very well done. In this show, like that's one thing about Power. They do have great music. But yeah, excellent takes. I really want to see what the people think of this episode, this premiere. So please do leave your comments. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited that Power is back. Even though it is for a short time. Well, kind of short. I mean, we're still getting 10 episodes, but it's going to be split up. But yeah, it's great. It's exciting that Power's back on TV, and we got the big rich town theme song and everything. Like so, yeah. But we'll be back next week to cover episode 2. And yeah, until then, everybody take care of yourselves. Have a great week, and we'll speak to you next time. Oh, go ahead, Dana.
And we will be having interviews. So you always stay tuned to that with interviews with the cast.
Oh yeah, interviews. Yeah, one of them might be out by now. I'm not sure, but yeah, watch the channel because there are going to be interviews carried out by Dana. So much props to Dana as well for all the extra work she puts in. So yeah, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.